It's become sort of a running joke in the comments section that I only build stuff for skinny people. Basically meaning that all my furniture looks fragile. Well, America, take a seat. About a month ago, I built a new dining table for our house. And while I'm really happy with it, I have to admit that we still haven't even used it. I think there are a few reasons for this, and one of them could very well be the fact that we don't have any seating yet. Some other reasons could be, it's not Thanksgiving, there's only 3 of us, and what are we, Richard and Emily Gilmore hosting their granddaughter? Anyhow, after I inspected all of the wood for curvature, I took it over to the joiner to get one face good and flat. And then I headed over to the planer to get everything thicknessed. It's crazy how much sawdust I made doing this. In this shot, the bag started off empty, and by the time I finished, it was about 3/4 full. To put that into perspective, if I were just doing plywood projects that don't require planing, it would take me about a half a year to make this much dust. But you know what won't take you a half a year to do? Build an awesome, beautiful website using Squarespace. No, but seriously. I've been using Squarespace now for my website for about the past 6 months or so, and I don't ever want to go back to doing it the old way. And my main reason for that is convenience. Personally speaking, I used to worry about my website a lot. I was always concerned that I had something wrong, or I'd get anxious about creating new pages, and at the end of the day, oftentimes, it made me just not want to mess with it. But now, when I want to update my pages, I log in, I can quickly add a new page or update an existing one in a matter of minutes, and they always look great. And best of all, it's dead simple. Honestly, if you're thinking about creating a site, or even if you have an existing one, you owe it to yourself to at least check them out. They have a variety of site templates to accommodate you no matter what type of site you're looking for, and each one is as beautiful as the last. And right now you can visit squarespace.com/4eyes to start a free trial and save 10% off your first purchase by using the offer code 4eyes at checkout. I'm telling you, just give them a look. You can thank me later. So my whole goal for day 1 of the build was really just to get all of my panels glued up and ready to go, so that then the next day I could start making the actual pieces of the bench. So the next thing I did was rip all of my boards to width, and then I cross-cut them to their rough lengths. It seems like I always forget to mention the type of wood I'm using in my videos, and I get that question a lot, so let me do that now. For this one I decided to go with walnut and white oak. I actually wasn't very confident about the combo, but the dining table's white oak and most of the other furniture in the room is walnut, so I figured I'd give it a shot with the hopes that it kind of tied everything together. Anyhow, so after all the pieces were cut out, I threw a few dominoes in for alignment purposes and then just glued all the panels together. You know, I think this is actually one of the biggest misconceptions that people have, particularly customers who are looking for custom furniture, when it comes to the time involved with making furniture. I think a lot of people believe that you just get pieces, nail them together, and like that you'll have this beautiful finished piece. When in reality, here I spent pretty much the bulk of an entire day gluing up and refining things into chunks just so that I could start forming the pieces the next day. Basically, what they imagine as the starting point is actually several hours into the process. By the way, I'm sure there are better ways to do this, but I love scraping dried glue off with a chisel. I also enjoy picking scabs though, so that might be weird. The next morning I took all of my pieces out of clamps and ran most of the panels across the table saw one more time to get them trimmed to their finished lengths. Then I cut in a pair of bevels. I started off with the walnut pieces, which kind of form a backrest, and I'm using quotation marks here, /leg sort of piece. Anyhow, after the bevels were cut, but before I glued things together, I put a dado in each piece that will eventually be used to attach and to support the seat of the bench. Here I'm just double checking the fit. Instead of clamping these pieces together, I decided to just use a few screws. Once the glue dries, you definitely wouldn't need any screws, but since the bench is going to be pretty much up against the wall, you're never going to see them. Anyhow, so here I'm just pre-drilling a few holes, and then I came back and actually glued the whole thing together. While that was gluing up, I cut some bevels into the seat/leg piece. The seat portion was too long to cut on the table saw, so I used the track saw instead. And I figured since I was already cutting that piece there, I might as well do the shorter leg piece too. These joints are going to be subject to a little bit more stress than the other ones will, so I reinforced things with a few dominoes. And then I glued it together. I turned the piece 90 degrees before I clamped it, so oops. But in a later shot you'll see it clamped up, so you can trust me. So while that was drying, I cut a long angle into either side of the walnut panel pieces just to give the whole thing a little bit more visual interest. I think initially I was going to do a 15-degree angle, but I was scared that I might expose some of the dominoes, so I ended up going with around 10 degrees instead. The last thing I did before finishing and sanding was to round over a few of the edges. This thing's pretty big and chunky, so I thought this would kind of lighten it visually a little bit and just make it look more inviting to sit on. While I'm cleaning things up, I'd like to take a minute to thank all of my Patreon members. New to the list this month are Michael Dawson, Scott Hahn, Borodin Andri, Dwayne Scott, Marshall Toy, Robert Bakey, Joshua Griffin, Kit Lowe, Phil Pedler, Zohib Hassan, and John Dempsey. I mean it when I say, every day when I look at my list and as I interact with a lot of you and think about how generous you've all been to me, it really does blow my mind. And I know I say it in every video, but I can't say it enough, so thank you. Truly. And if you want to find out how you can support the show too, and snag a sweet 4 Eyes t-shirt, feel free to check out the Patreon link below. And as always, no pressure. This piece was a bit of a departure for me aesthetically, and I'll be honest, I don't love it, but I don't hate it either. For one, I'm not really thrilled about the color combo, and I don't know why, but for some reason, I kind of get a county art show woodworking exhibit contestant entrant vibe from it, if that makes any sense. Anyway, I'm sure I'm being a little harsh on myself, and I guess it's good to step outside of your natural sensibilities every once in a while. Because, after all, the further you depart, the sweeter it is to come home. Thanks for watching, and if this is your first time to my channel, welcome. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Thanks. If you disagree with me and you like this piece, let me know by hitting that like button. See you next time.